Hello and welcome to the second session of financial crime and risk compliance. Prior to this, we've already had one more session in which we have covered a lot of points. So in case if you're trying to understand the concept and if you have reached this video, don't forget to have a look at the previous session, then come to this session. For your convenience, I will mention that session in the description below and also somewhere here in the bell button, and you can click and have a look at it. Let me quickly go through the points that I had discussed in that session. We had gone through the concept of financial crime. We had gone through different types of financial crime like money laundering and fraud. Apart from that, we also went through the different stages in money laundering. Apart from that, we went through what are regulators, what are their role, what are sanctions, embargoes, and last but not the least, the compliance departments in the bank. In such compliance departments, if you get a job, you would be working in such departments as analyst. That would be the starting role as you get as a fresher. So we had discussed the jobs, the salaries, and all other related aspects with respect to work and career. So in case if you have not understood this concept, or in case if you might have questions, please don't forget to have a look at that video. And if you've already have a look at that video, then don't forget to give that video a like and this video like, because it makes a lot of effort to create such videos, and a like will always encourage me to make good content for you. So then after, if you have liked this video, let us now continue with what we will be studying in this video. Let me quickly tell you the points. We will be starting with bribery and corruption. In bribery and corruption, we're going to be talking about PEPs, the different types of PEPs. Apart from that, we will be going through the red flags that you must keep in mind while working in financial institutions. Apart from that, we will also go through what behavior creates suspicion. And if possible, I will try to include a risk-based approach, high-risk jurisdiction, and high-risk businesses also in this video. In case if we fall short of time, I will have that in the next video. So without wasting any time, let's get started with today's session. And we will be starting it with bribery and corruption. Now, the first point in bribery and corruption is PEP, politically exposed person. First, let us look at the definition of a PEP, which is an individual with a high-profile political role or someone who has been entrusted with a prominent public function. These individuals present a higher risk of involvement in money laundering and terrorist financing because of the position they hold. So that is the definition of a PEP. Now, these people have the capacity and capability to influence and get involved in any crime, financial crime. So that's why these people are the ones, they are on high radar the moment they open an account with a bank. So their actions, their activities, their transactions need special focus and special attention. So what are the different examples? What are the people that come under this category? They could be member of parliaments, member of legislative assemblies, mayors of cities, members of any political party, irrespective to the ranks they hold, and also relatives of such people. And by relatives, I not only mean the wives, husbands, children, brothers, sisters, parents. We also include servants, drivers, associates that work with them, friends as well. So all these people also would come under PEPs, as they are in some way or the other related to such people. And it is possible that these politically influential people might conduct any illegal activity through their close associates, relatives, drivers, servants, anyone. So these people also come into this category. Also, one more thing which comes in the category of a PEP is charitable institutions, trusts, NGOs, which are operated by such people that hold government positions or their close relatives. So these charity NGOs, all these operated by any PEP, is also something which has to be considered and should always be in the radar of every financial institution. Let us look at the three different types of PEPs that are there. It's just for your understanding. First will be a foreign PEP. Foreign PEP, in this we will have military personals, heads of states. Heads of states like prime minister, different people holding any kind of ministry. You might have this question, why military personals? Because in India, the military is quite efficient and it is very almost impossible to believe that they could be involved in corruption. But this situation is not same in other countries. In some countries, the military generals are kind of believed to be involved in money laundering, because let's consider the case of Pakistan, as you must have seen or heard in other videos, where the students have the finances to study in universities abroad in countries like UK, US, and they proudly claim that we are from army families. That happens in Pakistan, in countries like Pakistan, where the army is very influential and in some situations corrupt as well. So there are many countries where it is possible that the military personals can be involved in money laundering. That is why military personals are also a part of foreign PEPs. Now, Eddie, for example, if Narendra Modi visits US, so then he will be a PEP in US, right? So that is what you mean by a foreign PEP, when you have someone coming from outside in your particular country. Second thing is a domestic PEP that we've already discussed. They are MLAs, MPs, all these people. Now, international organization PEPs is the third thing. These could be the UN organizations, World Banks, people who are part of these organizations, members, people holding high positions. These would come under the category of international organization PEPs, because they have the potential to influence the governments, the police, so they are also kept under high radar. So that is what we mean by PEPs. And while working in financial institutions, you will be required to keep a check on such people, because it is possible that they could use their influence to launder money. Now let us have a look at the red flags behavior, how to identify. So kinds of risks. So what are the risks? First, let us have at the low risks, which are small constituency districts. So low risk can be the PEPs which come from small constituencies, districts, councillors. The medium ones could be government, member of boards, different boards that are working at the national level. They could be members of that. And then high risk could be the judges. These are the ones that are considered to be at high risk. Then government enforcement. In the government enforcement, all officers who are holding high ranks, they also would come under this category. And very interestingly, religious leaders also fall in such a category. Now, religious leaders could be of any religion. They could belong to any religion, and because they have the power to influence the people, they have the power to brainwash the people and claim donations for building church, mosques, and other things. So they do come under such a high risk category, because they could end up influencing and can launder money, right? So after going through these points, let us now quickly go through what kind of a behavior creates suspicion. Now we have gone through what you mean by PEPs. Now let us quickly go through what kind of a behavior that you need to keep a check on, which creates suspicion that something weird has taken place. So the first thing is receiving recently, if there is any purchase. So by such people, if there is recently any purchase which has been made. Now that purchase could include buying for own self or transferring ownership. So transferring ownership to another person, maybe buying for something for themselves through their sons, children, daughter, all those things which would come under the recent purchases. If something like that has happened, we would need to keep a check on the source of such funds and try to get a reasonable evidence of whether the source of such transactions that has generated such an income is valid or not. Second thing is using corporate vehicles, funds without a valid reasons. Now such people do get a lot of privileges, which include vehicles, special allowances. Now what if they use certain things and then come back to claim those allowances? So that needs to be checked upon, whether the allowance that they are claiming, is actually that they have used or done or not. So that is the second thing which needs to be specially checked. Third thing is acting, being secretive. What if they are being uncomfortable when asked a question? If we see a suspicious transaction, then if we question them, what if they are trying to hide that transaction or being uncomfortable with such question? This is a behavior that creates suspicion. PEP who's been denied entry visa. If a kind of a PEP has been denied any entry visa, that also needs to be looked upon. Fifth point, PEP making many cross-border transactions. Now maybe a PEP may have a son or daughter studying in a foreign country, but what if the transactions that the PEP is making, if there is no justification for that? For example, a fees of university, cost of living, everything might cost up to 1 crore a year, even in the best universities. Now what if the transactions are maybe more than 4, 5, 6, 10 crores? That would of course raise eyeballs and relate to would lead to suspicion. So this is the fifth point. Sixth point is no credible explanation for certain business relationships. This would mean that let us assume X is a president of a old political party. X is incapable of running the political party. No, that was a joke. Okay, so X is basically by this time I'm sure you must have figured out who I'm trying to indicate. But keeping jokes aside, so X is a leader of a very old political party. Now suddenly he transfers money into someone's account who has no relation to him or her. So then that person who has received the money would also come under suspicion, because you have no relation to that person. So how come you are transferring that money to that kind of a person? So then that person would also, and that person is like, just any normal employee working in a company like IBM or any other company. So then this would also raise suspicion. Sometimes, PEPs also have shell companies because they have the power to, because opening a company requires a lot of paperwork. So often what they do is they open certain companies and get funds into them from random sources, and then after they have laundered that sufficient amount of money, they close the company and say that the company went into losses. Now after that has happened, it is very difficult to trace the money which had come, and if you go into that details, you will find out that the donations or maybe funds were raised in that company from source which cannot be traced. So that also happens, that many of these PEPs, in order to launder their money, create shell companies which always have anonymous donors. So this has to be always kept in mind. And this is the last point, which when we are discussing what behavior creates suspicion. So all these different types of behaviors would create suspicion when we are having a look at the PEPs. Also, one more thing which I would like to tell you is, when you may apply for jobs, may apply for universities, some of them these days, in fact many of them, have a condition that are you associated with any of such PEPs. So if you are related to them, you have to mention that. And so they require you to sign declaration that you are not associated to any of these PEPs. So this is something which is being done and is a very good development that has taken place in trying to prevent financial crime. So with this, I think we can end this session, as we have covered these very small concepts. I will try to list down a link in the description below which will tell you a bit more about PEPs and how keeping a special check on these people started. So you can have a look at those links, and that would give you a bit more information on these concepts that we have gone through today. With this, we can come come to an end for today's session, as we have covered these very few topics, and I will be covering the other 3 topics that I had mentioned in the beginning of the session, which is risk-based approach, high-risk jurisdiction, and high-risk businesses in the next video. It's a very important concept, and I hope what we have studied today, you would have understood all that with clarity. So in case if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. And last but not the least, thank you so much for watching, and do take very good care of yourself.